Rasheida.
And we're the Bennetts. Hey, we're back for one more day. Not one more day. We'll be back more days after this, but we're back today anyway to continue answering the questions that Google can't. So if it's your first time, don't forget to subscribe and to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Join us for Let's Talk on Wednesday nights at 7 p.m.
7 p.m.
in the Zoom room. Go to our Facebook page and you will find the link to join us in the Zoom room at 7 p.m. Central. So that's 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 Pacific. All right. I wanted to get that time zone straight. It kind of messed some people up last week, but that's okay. We still had a really healthy banter of a conversation going on in the Zoom room. So please make sure you come and join us.
Please do.
All right. So ready to jump into it?
I'm ready.
Okay. So this one is I'm probably sensitive. And so I feel for the couple that's dealing with it, but it happened. They threw it on us though. So the question that we got was, have you dealt with infidelity? And if so, how did you recover from it? So you want to start this one? All right. So Rashida's gonna be first up at bat.
Okay. So I'm gonna just use us as an example. We had the beginning of our relationship was, I'm gonna say, an emotional roller coaster. I was undecided. I was still kind of figuring out whether I wanted to be with her, if I wanted to be with my ex. You know, I go over here to get a little loving, go over there to get some little loving. Yeah, that's infidelity. However you want to paint it, that's how it was. And I believe that I had to make a decision. One thing is, you have to make a decision. You can't straddle the fence. You can't be here, and you can't have your cake and eat it too. And once you do what you have to do, first thing is make a decision. Either you in it or you not. Then once you make the decision to stay or to part ways, I think when you both decide, you make a decision on if you're staying, then you have to do work. That means you have to map out strategically how you're going to mend what has been broken. Counseling, when you're learning to communicate better, what caused the infidelity. Also just, you have to regain the trust again. You have to rebuild it. So if you're going to stay, you have to put together a plan that'll help you not ever be at that moment again. And if you decide to part ways, then you got to have another plan. How do you how do you separate material things? Houses, cars, co-parenting.
Yeah, children.
Animals. Believe it or not, animals is another form of co-parenting as well. So, dealing with it, you have a couple of ways of dealing with it, but the bottom line is you have to make a decision after the incident has occurred. That you need to make a decision on whether you stay in or you leave. And that's my 2 cents on infidelity and how to deal with it.
So I would agree with everything that Rasheida said, and she's right. At the beginning of our relationship, there were a lot of mistakes made, and you have to decide. She's right again. Decide. You have to make a decision. If you're the person that made the mistake, you have to figure out why you did it. You have to be able to communicate that to the person who was damaged in the process. You have to both make the decision that it's worth it, and then do the work. If you did the do, you will. You gotta learn to communicate better, because there's a reason that you did that. And in our case, I'll just piggyback on what you're saying. In our case, she was undecided or indecisive, because what I think happens is we know, and in fact I think this was applicable to both of us. We knew what we wanted. We knew what the possibilities of what this could be. But you always bring baggage from what was. And
Correct.
There are always, when you leave a relationship, you don't leave everything, because there's some things that were great, right? And so you have to look at what was, take away the good that you can, and then when you get into the new thing, you've got to sort of reinvent yourselves together and communicate about what your needs are going to be. so that you can fashion something that works for both of you. And it's easy. And so I think for us, we kind of knew that the relationship for us was different. It felt good, but we were also both trying to figure out how to shed the old skin of the other, because it's kind of like
a good one. Shed the old skin. That's good.
Yeah, you kind of like, wow, I see there's so much potential in this, but I still got all this baggage, because you always still wonder, why didn't this work out in the other thing? Mm-hmm. And you go back and forth, and I think this was the case for her. She would come and spend time with me and think, well, I like these things about you, and if I could get those things back in that situation, then I could plug them in. But you can't always plug and play.
But it don't work that way.
Yeah, but I think that's what causes some of that infidelity, particularly, or difficulty in the beginning of the relationship. So I think we both knew we just needed time, and she needed a little more time than I did. I recognized all of the potential that could be, and so I wanted. Oh, stop it! So I wanted to get moving. I had spent enough time doing that, so when she checked off, she wasn't perfect. If you look at our 80-20, we talk about some things. We didn't get deep into it, but she checked off a lot of boxes, and so I knew that what was left, it was doable, it was workable. But she had to make the decision. She had to make the decision that doing the work with me would be worth it. So I think that's important. I think the other part, again, if you're the person who did the messing up, here's the really tough part, I think. When you mess up and that other person goes through, even if they forgive you, if you make the decision to do the work, there are going to be moments of what I call PTSD. Mm-hmm. You wounded that person. So sometimes you're watching a movie or you're doing something innocent and a behavior triggers that person who was wounded to say, when this happened, your behavior looked like this, you moved like this. And all of a sudden, it may not even be related. You may be moving in a way that seems familiar. Stop making fun of me. Moving in a way that seems familiar, and that may trigger for them, although your destination could be different this time. Mm-hmm. That could trigger them. So you could be watching a movie and something come up, and the person that got wounded will be like, oh, so... and they'll bring up a conversation. So when that happened in our relationship, what did you think about this, and why did you do that? You can't get mad. You don't know who caused the damage. I mean, you shot the person.
And I say that it's hard.
Yes,
it's hard. And you, what do they call? What old folks call it? You got to eat crow.
Yeah.
You need to take it
humility. You got to have humility.
You have to, because if you don't, it's gonna get worse.
Yeah, you did the damage, and so you don't get to decide. What you got to decide is when you would do the damage. You don't get to decide how fast the other person has to heal. If you want it, you have to be patient, let them heal. Now, over time, it goes away. It lessens. And then the longer you're on a good road and your behavior or those behaviors, the way you start to move has a different result time after time, you balance the scales. It's kind of like in grade school or in school, you have all straight A's and all of a sudden you got an F in one class. Even though you got A's in the other classes, they still average out to a B because it takes time to bring that F all the way back up and not have it impact you. And it just takes time. So you have to be patient. You have to eat crow. You have to have some humility. So the short answer to it is, yes, we've dealt with some of those difficult situations. We would label them as infidelity. I think, but you have to be careful. And I think you have to also understand this. Infidelity, at least for me, is not always a physical thing.
Correct.
Where you spend your time, you could be having an affair. For me, I could have sex can be had with anybody. So that's not my issue. What my concern, if it with my relationship, is how much time is my wife spending confiding and conversing and giving her hopes and dreams to somebody else to support her instead of me. So for me, I would feel violated if she were doing something like that. So you gotta decide too, what does infidelity mean to you? For some people, it's completely physical.
I'm gonna say I'm agreeing and piggyback on that. In one of Tyler Perry movies, there is, I can't remember, I think it's I don't know if it's Why Did I Get Married To, and it's the character Tyler Perry and his wife, and he noticed that her behavior changed.
On a Wednesday or something like that.
Yeah,
right?
Every Wednesday she would, the night before, take out these sexy panties, this sexy cute little top, her whole outfit for work. But it was nothing over the top. It was just how she did it. So, and then when he noticed it and noticed that their sex life increased and it went from 0 to 100 real quick, and it was just out of the blue, and he was like, okay, something is going on.
Something different.
She wasn't having an affair physically.
Oh yeah. Right.
But mentally and emotionally, she was somewhere else. Even when she was being intimate with her husband, she was thinking of him.
Yeah, that was a really good example. Yeah.
So that's a form of infidelity, and you have to talk about it.
And the thing is,
unless you're okay with that, good.
If you're open. I will say this since you went there too, and this will be my last point because I don't want to make this too long. There are healthy. It's not for me. But there are relationships that are okay with that kind of arrangement. If you're going to do it, and since they're both deceased now, I'll say who they were because they wrote about it in their memoirs that were published after Ruby Dee and Ossie Davis, after he passed away. She made it known that that was their arrangement. And they were married successfully for years. Nobody had a clue that that was the arrangement, was that they could have an open relationship. The deal for them, though, was that they could not bring it home. So if you're going to have that kind of relationship, then don't pick stupid people who can't abide by the rules and they run up on you somewhere in public, or they run up on your spouse and say, well, that's my so-and-so and that's mine. No, that wouldn't work for me. That would get somebody clanged in the head or possibly beat with a red baseball bat. It's another story. But,
oh my God.
But I'm just saying, if you're gonna do it, I wouldn't say don't do it. If you're gonna do it, I'm just gonna say you need to again talk about it, like you said, establish some criteria, establish some ground rules, and work within it. And when it's time to call it off, call it off. You both have to be in agreement.
Absolutely.
So that's my answer on that. Do you have any more you want to add,
Nope.
Rasheida?
I am good.
All right. So we are here answering some tough questions lately.
Oof.
So keep them coming. We appreciate it. Yeah, we're having a great time doing it too. And obviously we don't mind sharing some of our own narrative with you. So again, subscribe, follow us.
Hit the notifications button, ding, 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 so that every time we post a new video, you get notified.
And we'll be looking forward to seeing you on the next episode of Lisa and Rasheida. Good night.
Peace.